It's 5:30. We called order here. If we would stand for the invocation, please. Please lead us.
I will, thank you. If you'll join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for being with us today. These are certainly difficult times and trying times. Ask that you be with us and lead us and guide us with the right decisions, right discussions, and the right mindset, and the right heart for the citizens of Greenville and our community, that we do the best thing we can in the interest of our community. Ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Roll call, please. Maria?
Yes, present, we have Wayne Morris, Brian Hudgens, Hubbard George, Wayne May, Brown.
Okay. Number 4, approval of the minutes from February 17. Has everybody had a chance to look over? No one has any problems?
Brother Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor, raise your right hand, say aye. Aye. All opposed, likewise. Passes unanimously. Number 5, old business. Anybody have anything? Laura? Nope. Move on to new business. Item 6A, approval of preliminary plat for KB Crossing 2, Stainback Development. Laura?
Thank you, Dwayne. Yes, this is just a preliminary plat. Stainback, Kimley Horn have submitted drawings and plans and worked the utility easements, transportation, roadway. And once it was approved by staff, now it's up for planning and zoning for approval. You have any questions? Last month, they requested a zoning change, and so now they're just going forward with their preliminary plat.
Want to have anything up for LaTora before I open it up for public? Thank you.
Okay.
We'll open this up for a public meeting. Anybody that would like to talk in favor of this preliminary plat can step forward. Anybody that'd like to speak against this plat also step forward. Close the public meeting. Anyone else have anything else? I hear a motion.
So moved.
All in favor, raise your hand to say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, likewise. Item 6B, hold a public hearing to discuss and consider requests by Roberto Martinez for approval of zoning change from agriculture to light industrial zoning on property located at 6015 Highway 66 and take any action. Tora?
Okay, thank you, Dwayne. You can kind of see on this exhibit is fairly faint. The property is located within the yellow boundary. Currently, there's a plant to the north of it and a plant to the east of it. And then the parcels south and west are vacant. He's seeking industrial zoning. It's currently zoned agriculture. It's compatible with the surrounding land uses since those are industrial as well. And then it's also compatible with the future land use plan because it calls for industrial zoning. As far as responses, I don't have any responses. I think we received one for it, but none against it. Do you have any questions?
Sorry, did we get any,
We received one. Did we receive one for this project? I believe we did. We did. We received one and none against it.
okay.
Yes, I'm pretty sure of that.
What does the staff recommend?
Oh, for the zoning change. Yes.
Okay, if we don't have any more questions for Latora, I'll open this up to a public meeting. All those that would like to speak in favor, come forward, please. State your name and address. Okay, if we don't have any, if any of those that oppose, please step forward and state your name and address, please. We will close the public hearing since we have none. Anyone else have anything else before we take a vote?
Move to approve.
Got a motion to approve
Second.
and a second. Everyone in favor, raise your hand, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Nay. So it passes unanimously. Number 6C, hold a public hearing to discuss and consider amendments to the zoning ordinance concerning prepackaging liquor retail stores and take any action necessary. Cora?
Yes, Dwayne, P&Z. This is requesting an update to the zoning ordinance and is basically allowing for prepackaged liquor store sales. I hope you can hear me well. And so basically what we did with the zoning ordinance is before, when you look at the package, we just had prepackaged retail sales, no drive-through and prepackaged retail sales without a drive-through, with and without. And so in order for us to be able to distinguish whether we could have prepackaged liquor if we want to allow it, we needed to create a definition for it, and we needed to have it a standalone use. So we revised the ordinance to say prepackaged beer and wine retail sales, and then prepackaged beer and wine retail sales with no drive-through and with a drive-through. And then we added prepackaged liquor retail sales, no drive-through. And the purpose of that is if we wanted to allow for prepackaged, not consumed on site, but just prepackaged liquor sales, we needed to create a use for it. And so when you go within a permitted land use chart, previously what we had was the prepackaged sales as permitted uses under general retail, commercial, and industrial uses. So that didn't change. It's still beer and wine retail. We just added beer and wine to be clear. But we've added prepackaged liquor, and we're saying conditional uses. So they don't have a permanent use, they have a condition based on certain conditions. They would have to get approved. They can have it in general retail, commercial, and industrial uses. And so another change would have been just making sure that we don't have too many. So we kind of defined the size and the square footage and all of those restrictions is what you see later on. And then later on, we added that definition of liquor. Yeah. Did you have any questions about any of the changes to the ordinance regarding the prepackaged liquor sales?
Go ahead.
I had one question. We talked about buying up here. Am I reading?
It does, but it's the percentage of liquor, we're saying that's more than 4%. So we're trying to distinguish it. So any type of liquor that's above 4% is what we're saying.
I have a few issues with some of the language. Specifically, let's go to, okay, under A, and then paragraph B. The city council may grant a variance to the distance regulations if the city council determines the enforcement of those regulations in particular instance is not in the best interest of the public, constitutes waste or insufficient use of land or other resource, creates an undue hardship on the applicant. What defines an undue hardship? That's very vague.
Right. So an variance, which is, it could be a number of things as far as what would specify. This is just giving a provision as if we wanted to place it within, how do we, I'm trying to think of a good example.
No, that's what I mean. It's too vague. I think we need to specify what constitutes
Well, if
an undue hardship.
so in the language of a variance, the reason why it is vague is because the spectrum of examples and opportunities that present itself. For example, if a restaurant needed to put a sign, but due to the location and what our standards say as far as setbacks, you wouldn't be able to see it. It wouldn't be visible. They may ask for a variance because, hey, my business may suffer because of this location. Can I move it here? So when you have specific cases like that, it's hard to define what the variance would be. So you're basically allowing for an opportunity for a variance if it presents itself.
Okay, moving on, next paragraph. The size of a prepackaged liquor retail building square footage shall be no less than 3,000 feet in a standalone building. Prepackaged liquor must be sold in its own building, not affiliated with another type of building. I have a problem with the minimal size. 3,000 square feet is huge. You add that to parking, you're talking at least a half acre of retail land. I've checked around, called different cities, called several different states, even those that have alcoholic beverage control. In other words, the liquor stores are owned by the states. They vary between 1,200 and 1,500 square feet. To me, this 3,000 square foot standalone minimum knocks a lot of potential small business people out of the game right away. Secondly, must be standalone. We've got a lot of empty retail in some of our strip malls. And I think this language needs to be revisited, discussed maybe between you all and some of us. So in the interim, I'm going to move to table it.
I have questions before we go there, if that's all right. Does this in any way reflect on how they're, because of the COVID, how they're currently selling? Is any of that addressed with the drive up to Bottle Cap Alley, for instance, and purchasing through the drive-through window and taking it home for consumption? Is that just, we're letting that slide because of the times, or is that something that is addressed in this?
Actually, it's not, because we don't currently allow for drive-through liquor. That would be something that would have to be looked into, but that's not what we're permitting here.
Sure.
Yeah.
I just, because it's been kind of prevalent here, Rockwall, all the surrounding areas that I've been to, I just was curious if it was addressed in this particular update.
Not at this time, no.
Okay.
Well, like it's all restated, I have an issue with these two things. I think it's too restrictive. I think it eliminates smaller business people the opportunity to participate. And we don't take advantage of a lot of the empty retail that we have right now in adjacent buildings, strip malls. I think we at least need to discuss it further.
Can I?
So, move the table.
Okay.
Okay, we'll open it up for a public hearing. Going to go ahead and hear this. Or actually, we'll go ahead and take a vote on the table, and then we'll have a public hearing. Oh, was you, Latour?
What he was saying, I just wanted to give a few examples of cities that allow for it. Texarkana, Texas, Texarkana, Arkansas, they have the state line. If any of you have visited that area and you look at their strip, it's inundated with liquor and wine and retail sales. And I think one of the things that, I'm not saying that was the purpose of our square footage, but what that helps to do is to avoid too many pop-ups in Greenville of the liquor, because you don't want to get inundated with it, but you also want to allow for it if you do approve it. And so that's one thing you could consider is if we approve this, how does it affect development and the quality of life and what we're seeing in our commercial retail sales?
I take your point, but also I find 3,000 square feet, reserve those for deep pockets. And I think we need to find a medium somewhere. That, and we've got to get some of this retail space used. There might be other limitations we can put on it as far as not one within. Matter of fact, I think it's even in here. We can maybe redefine that somewhat. I believe it is in here somewhere, not within 1,000 feet or another. You can move that. I mean, nobody wants to make it look like used cars and check cash. Wait a minute, we already have that. But at the same time, too, I don't want to see people who might be able to take advantage of a business opportunity knocked out. When we say 3,000 square feet, standalone building, then you add the parking requirements into, that's a pretty good sized chunk of retail land. So I think it deserves further discussion.
I'm going to go ahead and open it up to the public first. Those in favor would like to speak in favor of this, would you please step forward?
I don't really agree with Wayne's argument. We might have a lot of retail space, but we don't need to fill it up with liquor stores. Okay, let's skip that idea. And I do think that it would be a better idea to have a minimum square footage and have it maybe not 3,000, but maybe close to 3,000, so that we get the benefit of maybe liquor if it does pass. And I'm not for it, I'm not against it, but there are some benefits to us financially, our city, if we did have liquor. I get it, okay? And so if that were to happen, but let's have a limit to the size of the buildings, because we don't want a whole bunch, we're not looking for a bunch of liquor store. I understand where maybe this is going. I don't mind the idea of a specs, something that's professional and big, and that helps our city, okay? I'm a Baptist, so we don't drink, but bottom line is that could be interesting for our city, okay? But if you make it smaller, oh my God. If you make it 1,000 square feet, you make it 1,200 square feet, here they come. Everybody can have a liquor store. That's a no-brainer. And I don't think we ought to go there. That's just my opinion.
Larry, would you please state your name and address, please?
Larry. You don't even know where you live?
Dave Dreiling, 6302 Villa Fontana. Wayne, the first argument or first question that you had about the limitations and the hardship, that's something that's kind of standard in an ordinance like this. It allows the council to make a decision based upon the individual case. If we try and said, well, it's this one or this one, we obviously would miss something that would affect it. But it allows the council to be able to make a decision based upon the circumstances that are presented. The second thing about the size of the property, I appreciate the fact that you've called around to several cities. I can tell you for a fact that we called several cities around and asked what their limitations were, and quite a few of them were bigger than 3,000. But the idea, as Mr. Ellis says, is so that we don't end up with a liquor store in every little corner and everywhere else. We don't think that's in the best interest of the city, hence a standalone building that could be set up to sell the hard liquor. Now, anybody, any little strip store or little 7-Eleven or something in that order sells beer and wine right now. But if it's a standalone and it can't be adjusted, tacked into something, that also would prevent something like Walmart or something like that, just saying, well, a section of our store is to sell hard liquor. It's got to be a standalone building. And the size that we looked at fit very closely to the size that are done by most cities. Thank you.
Once again, I appreciate all comments. I have no dog in the fight. I don't drink. But it just bothers me a little bit, the size. I was-
Wayne, let's go ahead and finish our
I'm
public,
sorry.
and then you can say before we do anything. Anybody else in favor of? Anybody opposed? Step forward, please. We have no one else from the public to speak. We'll close the public hearing. Wayne, if you'd like to speak.
I've pretty much said what I think. I understand. That's why I'm thinking perhaps we could look at other parts of the ordinance and separate them so we don't have a big ugly liquor stores. But I've got to, just myself, I consider some vacant retail or that opens for 1 month and is closed 2 months later and that. And I still say, I think 3,000 is too restrictive. I'm willing to go with a standalone, but I'd like some more time to discuss this among the people that wrote this original draft.
Go ahead.
I have a couple questions. How does this ordinance,
Microphone, please.
Pull it towards you there.
Okay.
Red light on?
Red light on, yes.
Yeah, just pull it towards you, the whole deal, and speak.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Pull it right by you.
oops,
Yeah, okay, got it. Got a lot of attachments. Okay.
Hold it up there.
Yeah. So my question is, how does this square with convenience stores? It's not their primary business to sell beer and wine necessarily, but they're going to be co-located with a retail store. Is there any provisions in the ordinance about convenience stores?
Do you mean in the liquor sales? As far as convenience stores being able to do liquor that's above a certain percentage?
No, I mean proximity of location with
Oh.
respect to this and convenience stores.
No, currently the provision just states one liquor store in proximity to another.
Okay.
Not necessarily because a convenience store is defined differently because that's not its primary use. And so what we're allowing for is a business that's 3,000 square foot that its primary use is to sell prepackaged liquor. No one else would be selling that.
Okay, and what do you mean by prepackaged? So can you not sell a single bottle of special? Okay,
Yeah.
okay, so my suggestion would be maybe we have a definition of prepackaged. Because in a convenience store, I didn't know if there was a differentiation. Because in a convenience store, you can either sell a 6-pack or 12-pack or whatever, as well as a single bottle. So is that your intention for this kind of retail store?
Of beer and wine.
Dave, the public meeting's closed. A typical liquor store, you'll go in and buy the bottles, and they call them prepackaged.
Okay,
Okay, just like you would go in and say, buy a 6-pack or a case or what have you. It's gonna be prepackaged, seal's not open.
seal's not open,
That's
okay.
correct.
Yeah, it's in 6.08003, paragraph A. It breaks it out, as she said.
Yeah.
Okay, and then my other question is in 6.08.004, why is the sale of beer and not beer and wine in residential areas prohibited?
why isn't it prohibited in residential areas?
Yeah, I mean, you've changed everything in here to be beer and wine, but you didn't address the prohibition of wine in residential areas. Is there a reason?
Trying to see where are you talking about, because I think we didn't, where are you reading from?
6.08.004.
Last page.
Okay. Okay. Oh, right, okay. And why doesn't it say beer or wine?
For beer and wine.
Beer and
Beer
wine?
and wine. I mean, everything else was changed to be inclusive of beer and wine.
We just did not update that.
Needs to be
Honestly,
consistent.
I'm sorry, which,
Needs to be consistent throughout the
Right.
document.
I think that also comes back to my question earlier about 608.001, where you're including wine as part of liquor. And so I think that's part of the confusion. And then after that, you switch to just beer instead of beer and wine.
okay. I can understand why there's a confusion there. That makes sense.
Maybe the numerical value that you specified, 4%, be part of the delineation there.
Right, because I believe wine is over 4%, so that's calling everything over that.
Most are, not all.
But yeah, but that would get a lot of common wines out, calling it liquor.
Yeah, and we kind of pulled this definition, I pulled it from the Texas, how they define it, how they define liquor, beer and wine. And so what this would allow for, these liquor stores will be selling liquor that your convenience store would not be able to sell.
So is it common to have the percentage by weight as opposed to percent alcohol?
Yes.
Is that what does TASB call?
This is what it's called. This definition comes from there. Yes. This is where we pulled it from. When we were drafting up how we would revise this, we went online to look to see how they were defining it, because the problem was we couldn't figure out how will we distinguish a liquor store versus just a regular beer and wine. And so we went back to look at the definitions, and we decided, okay, we need to provide a definition for it within the ordinance and say, hey, we allow for it in this type of parameters. And that's why we added the beer and wine, so that we could specify based upon how they define beer and wine and liquor. So,
And that's the way the state defines it.
yes. Yes, sir.
I see also where you added under the 6.08.006, sale of prepackaged liquor is prohibited within 1,000 feet of an existing prepackaged liquor store. Well, that kind of addresses some of the problems I've got with it. We just bump that up. You can put in any distance. So we don't have the issue of it being an eyesore. Anyway, just thought I'd throw that in since we're on the same paragraph.
Well, if they're stepping up to spend that much money on a store or then I don't think you're gonna have a lot of people that's gonna step up and make that investment. And I agreed with you, Wayne, earlier, but I'm more like Mr. Ellis over here. I don't want it to look like Pottersville if you're gonna have liquor. And at the end of the day, the people are gonna have to vote in November if they want it or not.
Yeah.
So I think if somebody does step up and make the investment of that nature in this town, then it's going to be of quality and not of quantity. So, like at the end of the day, the people have to make the decision if they want it or not. That's the way I see it. Anybody else have any questions? We got a motion to table it. Anybody want to second that?
I'm not sure, is tabling it maybe
Not sure.
rewriting?
Go ahead and vote on it, just to be sure.
No, what I mean is, are you tabling it because you don't want it, or is it being tabled to have more rewrites?
To have a special session or a group to discuss.
Okay.
I find the 3,000 square foot standalone, not small business friendly. And I think that we can solve some of the issues that Mr. Ellis and others have by going down to the other added paragraph. But and, you know, I don't care if you put a mile or 5,000 feet or 5,000 yards. But I just find it very restrictive. You know, it kind of aces out a lot of smaller business people. But yet at the same time, I agree with the concept that we don't want a city blight either. I just would like more time to discuss it. But
We got to close.
Okay, I'll second the motion, so we get a vote.
Got a motion, a second. All in favor, raise your right hand, say aye.
That to table it?
Yes.
For further discussion.
Table it for further discussion.
I think I need more.
Okay. So we got 4. Table it for further discussion. Okay. And we got all of those in favor, and against tabling, raise your right hand, say aye. Aye. So it's 4-4, guys, from lack of majority. Anybody like to put forward a motion? In favor of?
I motion to approve with some clarifications on a few of the issues that we've brought up where the ordinance is not clear, such as percentage, the delineation between wine that is liquor and wine that is beer, and a couple of areas where it looks like beer needs to have what was tacked on in the rest of the ordinance and wine, just to update the verbiage in a few of those areas for clarification and for consistency.
We have a second? But
Well, I mean, I guess we can go down the 4 or 5, but we had the percentage delineation that we talked about that just didn't make it clear in the 2 paragraphs that you were. And then there was the beer and wine that was at the top half consistent through, but after that liquor section, the beer and wine fell away to just beer. And so the consistency throughout the document of what's beer and wine, and then the delineation between wine and liquor.
Question is, passes the way you, the Torah know what to do.
Latora? Would the modification be specifically ever what the state lays out? Would that be what our guidelines would be?
And I'm good with that.
Exactly. Okay, so you're good as long as it's within state guidelines?
Yes, and consistent throughout, so.
Right. Okay. Under that pretense of state law, we have a second?
Second.
So we have a motion for and a second. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye. Aye. All opposed? What do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for and 3 against. Count that right? Motion 6C passes. 6-3. Item D, hold a public hearing to discuss, consider the request by Scott Ellis for approval of zoning change for single-family 1 to single-family 2 zoning on property located at 1300 block of Jack Finney, known as Ellis Estates, and take any action necessary. Tora?
Okay, thank you, Dwayne. So this property is located, on a 1300 block of Jack Finney. It's, a zoning change from SF1 to SF2. SF1 is just lots that are a minimum of 1,200 square feet. He's requesting a change to SF2. I mean 12,000, I'm sorry, 12,000. 12,000, and he's changing it to SF2, which is 9,000 square feet. Currently, that's what the zoning is of the surrounding residential parcels near it. Of course, it's compatible with land use is residential. That's what the rest of the subdivision is, SF2. We received notices from property owners. 0 were in favor, but we did receive 6 responses in opposition. Some may not have been understanding of why the zoning change and the lot size different, but we recommended as staff, it's the same zoning as the surrounding residential parcels. And he's just requesting a change to a,
I'm sorry, did you say 0 in favor?
yeah, 0 in favor and 6 against. Yes. Did y'all have any questions for me before he comes up? Okay.
We'll open the public hearing for those in favor or to speak for the project. Come forward, state your name and address, please.
All right, Scott Ellis, 501 Traders Road. In Greenville, a typical lot that we see built on is an SF3 lot. So that's what's in Ellis Farm, that's what's in Cottonwood, Jackson's Run, Cedar Creek. That's an SF3 lot, which is 50 foot wide, 110 feet deep, just over 5,000 square feet, ranging on how deep. But it's typically 50 foot wide. So you put a house on it that's 40 foot wide, you have 5 feet on each side. Now, an SF2 lot is 72 feet wide, and that's what we have in Stonewood that y'all approved months ago, and we're about to start building on bigger houses. So, this area all grass, but this first one, kind of see that plat. That's what's platted right now. You can kind of see that cul-de-sac and all that. The front of those lots are not 72 foot wide. Yes, they're SF1. They're big lots that have big backyards, but they're not, the layout of them doesn't tend to all that. What we're asking to rezone this right here, the SF2 lots, that will be big homes in there, than Ellis Farm, those other subdivisions match the rest of our subdivision. This is right here, kind of the next topic on the agenda. 20 lots that lots. On an SF2, I mentioned that's a 72 foot wide lot. So in Stonewood, we've already pre-sold 21 houses. In Stonewood, we have house plans, and new fronts, 3-car garages, different looks, different things, different than Ellis Farm. Ellis Farm is in the past. It's a new subdivision. Same lot, different subdivision, with different homes on a bigger lot. And so those bigger lot, you know, and except one, we're finding that be right in that's a bigger home. That's a $400,000, $500,000 home. That niche is a different niche, especially right off. So it's kind of not the most desirable place to build a big home like that. So we're finding that people are interested in our garage. We're finding people that are interested in a 4-bedroom home, and that's kind of their breaking point. A 5-bedroom home, you know, things of that nature. That's kind of getting a little. You're having to find that special person, which we will at times. But on a 72 foot wide lot, you can still build a house that's 60 feet wide. But we wouldn't do that. People want a 72 foot wide lot to build, 10 feet on each side or a little space between them. So all we're asking for is to rezone this first part. All we're asking for tonight. from that original plat that's up there. These lots would still be 9,000 square feet, which is a very sizable front yard and backyard, very spacious, and that's what we're up here on this first thing for. Y'all have any questions?
Do you have any plans in the future for that area, or would this allow for a little green space or a little neighborhood recreation area, or?
Well, this neighborhood has all this green area right here. Ponds. This has a lot of acreage not to build houses on. This is all preliminary as far as parks or different things. I don't even want to mention some things. It's very preliminary.
But it has entered the thought process?
Yes, oh yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
But, we own this part right here. All right.
Anyone like to speak in favor of the project or the rezoning? Any of those opposed would like to speak? We'll close public hearing. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a question. Well, what were the objections, the reasons for the objections?
I have a few of them here, but in general, people were concerned that it would devalue their property values. I think with the zoning change, they felt like they're going to be smaller houses. I don't know if they really understood what SF2 was in relation to the lot size and dimension. And so, according to Steve, some of the objections that people who had objections that he spoke with, he kind of gave them information about what it was and that it was actually a similar lot size to what they currently live in. And I don't think that was what they knew before. There was a misunderstanding of what is SF2, what is SF1. And so, generally, that's what the issue was with a lot of the property owners.
What's the current lot size for the older neighborhood that's right next to it?
They are SF2 as well. Yeah, if I'm looking correct. Yeah, right. Yeah, they're SF2. All of those are actually, in fact. So they will be just really rezoning it to the size of what's in the surrounding area.
It was 2, and then it went to 1, now it's back to 2, right?
Yes.
Okay.
You know, once they determined the feasibility of it, it made more sense to put it back to SF2.
Hang on just a second, Larry.
So, any more questions for
Anybody
me?
else for Latora?
Okay.
Okay, we'll open it up for public hearing. Those in favor, Larry?
570, Larry Court. Hey, so what the deal was, I talked to Steve last week, and Steve said there was mass confusion that we were going to go over there and build Ellis Farm size houses there. And so we get it. People drive by, they see our name, they see all the houses up, and they say, well, they're fixing to come over here and do the same thing. We get it. We understand. But that's not what we're doing. We're actually will be building, if you drive into that neighborhood that Mr. Darby built many years ago, and I bought the property from the nicest lady in the world, Peggy Darby, the houses that we will be building in there are actually going to be bigger houses that are next to us right there on that street. And these 3-car garages in the front, having a 4-bedroom, that'll fit into that neighborhood perfectly.
Since I opened that back up, would anybody like to speak against any of this? Not, we'll close it again. Now, does anybody have any discussion?
We have one.
Dwayne, lady back there.
Oh, lady back here in the back, I'm sorry. State your name and address, please.
I'm Barbara Horan in 2 Meadow Lane, which is across the street. They've only talked about their side of 1570, and I was listening. The ones across 1570 are SF1. I looked all this up this afternoon. So we're single family 1 on the other side of 1570. So maybe they've changed it, the sizes and things, since ours were built by Danny Darby. But it is SF1, and the ones, Peacock and those that are next to what that piece is that they're rezoning, those are SF2. Just because, I guess it's against, I don't know, just to let you know that there is SF1 right there. Thank you.
Anyone else?
So obviously, we're building houses, we're talking to buyers every day. Scott sold 2 more houses today. We're listening, which we have to do as builders, to what people are telling us. We're not here having people contacting us about building SF1 houses. That'd be great. They cost more money, we'd make more money, but that's not what we're hearing from people. We're hearing that people want SF2 houses. That's what we're hearing. And we have to be smart about our investment, about what we're going to build, and we want to build, and we want to build in that area. I was offered over a year ago, I could have sold all that property for 4 times what I bought it for. But we didn't do it. We've held on to it. We want to build it. We want to build it out. But we do have Stonewood ahead of it. And also, when we acquired that property, all of a sudden, we acquired the Ellis Farm property. Now we have nearly finished building it out. But now we're over on Stonewood, so we're working Stonewood. But we've noticed a lot of SF2 interest. People, that's a perfect number, and it's a good fit for families here in Greenville. Not huge houses, are probably just not going to be able to sell too many of them. Probably sell a few of them, but you have to, if you're going to put the infrastructure in and spend millions of dollars, which we have spent $2 million in the last, 14, 15 months, we have to justify that infrastructure money.
Ma'am, did you want to speak?
Jennifer Pitzinger, 4 Meadow Lane. And first of all, I think you said there were 6 people. We didn't get a lot of notice about this ahead of time. I do live across the street from this, the 200 feet. There was a sign that said for a long time how much the houses were going to be. And, I've lived out there for 15 years, and I like where I live. I'm not excited about having a whole lot of new homes with the same track record as Ellis Farms across from my home. As I was talking to my neighbors and people around, they had the same thought that I did. And there wasn't a confusion. We're all educated people, and we all understand the difference between single family 1 and single family 2. I was excited to know that that was going in across from us. Right next to us, Old Mill Road, I don't know if y'all know where I'm talking about. Those are all new homes, and those are super nice, and I don't think they were hard to sell. So I feel like this should be revisited, because in the long run, as far as our town goes, I feel like we want to progress and not just keep it the same. So we kind of have a mixture of all these other things already in town, so why not, in the city limits, kind of have some nicer homes for people that have choices for. So I have a lot more to say, but I'll just keep it at that. Thanks.
Anyone else like to speak? All right, we will close the public hearing this time. Anybody have any wishes here on motion? Anybody want to make a motion on this? Got a motion? Second? Second, Wayne? All in favor, raise your hand, say aye. Aye.
To approve? Okay.
Opposed? Likewise. That passes unanimous. Move to item E, approval of preliminary plat for Ellis Estates in the 1300 block of Jack Finney Boulevard.
Yeah, this is pretty self-explanatory. It is the preliminary plat for the development we were just speaking about, which you can see here. Do y'all have any questions for me on this particular project?
Have a public hearing. Anybody like to get up and speak for?
Scott Ellis, 501 Traders. What I'd kind of like to just reiterate with this Ellis Estates and, Ellis Farm and the homes that we're selling in Stonewood, the price range from those homes are $230 to $375. So these are not beginner starter home prices at that price point. So the track record of Ellis Farm is a different subdivision. It had its niche and it accomplished its goal. And there are many families that are having first-time home buyers in those. People that are downsizing are in those homes. So that was that niche. And so Ellis Estates, these are bigger lots that are going to provide bigger homes. And as we grow, we have to build them. People have to see them and see these bigger homes and understand them. But these are homes that range from 2,000 square feet all the way up to 3,900 square feet. These are big homes. Those aren't little. And then you add the garages and all that on top of it. So we're building a quality home. I had a lady, my dad said I sold 2 homes today. I sold one, and I have one that I'm doing a contract for tomorrow. The lady told me when she said, I want to do the house today, the first one, she said, hey, we come in your house and we see the quality. We don't see tape and bed lines. We don't see this. You use good granite. You use good stuff. She said we had good quality. So that's what we have is quality homes, and we live pretty high on that. I just want to reiterate that. We're not building track homes. We're not building spec homes. In fact, the biggest problem we have in our company is that when someone calls me on a Saturday and says, hey, Scott, I got my client, you got a house they can buy and move in 2 weeks? No. Or one you can get in a month ready for us. Do you have one halfway done? No. Because every home we're building is sold. And so that's our problem. That's our business. That's a good problem to have and a bad, anyway. But that's the kind of thing we're building kind of custom homes now for home buyers. Home buyers are customizing their homes. So right there alone, that tells you the quality. It's not you get what you get. You gotta do the home buyer has that part of it. So I think the quality we're bringing in, as we grow as a company, going to this part and that stepping stone. So just want to reiterate that. And this is just the flat. That's where we're here. Part right side. Thank you.
Scott, you said they were 2,000 square foot more or less and up?
Yes. That's at Stonewood.
Yeah. Yeah. What we're talking about right now.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Scott, before you leave, question. On the paperwork here, it says request to approve preliminary. Attachments, it's got final. Is that a disconnect or what?
Oh,
Thank you.
Saying you don't have a plan yet for the green space in there, but you are planning on doing something like a well-kept green space.
Yes,
Is
sir.
that right? It's not just going to be overgrown.
All that we have. Yes, I'd like to make as is. Background.
So these would be eventually then, this green space in the future would eventually be turned over to the HOA? Understand, yeah.
Till I die, so anyways. Ellis Farm will be mowing until fall asleep. Topic here. All right,
Okay.
Thank you.
thank you.
Anyone else like to speak in favor? Anyone like to speak opposed? Not, we'll close the public hearing. Wishes?
I make a motion to approve
Second.
the preliminary plat.
Got a motion by Bernice and a second by Glover. All in favor, raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None? Passes unanimous. Go to the next item. Approval of a preliminary plat, Cambridge Place Addition, 800 block, Traders Road.
Yes, this is just a preliminary plat for Ellis. It's approximately 12 lots on 5.2 acres. It's located on the 800 block of Traders. Do you have any questions for me? No? All right.
We'll open up the public hearing. Anybody like to come up in favor of this?
Scott Ellis, 501 Trader. So what we have here is kind of get you section. Traders Road coming down south. And here, the Ellis Farm. Across the road, Walmart. And our Ellis farmhouse is the L shape. Ag right on top. We acquired this 5 acres, about a year. Also, here, the property to the west of it. So we're here, flat, hello area right here, already multi-family. So we're planning places. Actually, pretty spacious. Like these lots are 90 wide. That's with, if I say 80, really, then it's 40. Now 40, that's an Ellis Farm house. That's a house, two-car garage, kind of the style we're looking for, there's some other styles and houses. What we're finding, I said Ellis Farm, talking to a lot of people talking are first-time home buyers, buying that starter house. We really talking downsizing, not want to mow a yard, want to live somewhere where the yard's made a house, don't want a apartment unit, but I don't want one, not one or two. Tired person. So this is a one-story, it's 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 60 size, and that's basically stick.
You said excuse me, Scott, you said 1,600 square feet?
Heavy lift. Or one. We're just here for the yellow part, finding that, and lots right there. Ellis Farm is right here, backs of houses. Roadways across the street, back across from right there, tree and stone mountain.
What is the tentative price range?
On a side.
Let's say for a two-car garage.
Square feet right now, an Ellis Farm is, I'd assume, lower side.
The common areas will be totally taken care of?
Yes, sir. I think that's the purpose of all this. As an HOA.
Yes, sir.
The front entrance. Farm.
Sir, what type of amendment? Data
Sure, what
community?
That's the fire with fire.
Okay,
This is not, over 55,
okay,
that type of neighborhood. I'm just referencing
okay,
the type of buyers.
thank you.
What's your time frame?
Timeframe is, timeframe is probably 9 months. Or so. No, it's still starting here pretty soon. So those got to meet up and butt up, so. A lot of demand. I've seen a lot of demand, wood story, plexes, I've seen. Had, a lot of interest, other projects we have, but go look at other projects. They don't want, I'm seeing a lot of people that don't want a whole house thing. They want to live in a house with pets. Pet thing, an apartment.
I think you'd have some demand, though. I think Greenville, there's always been kind of a demand, not necessarily for a senior residential area, but for people that are retiring and want to downsize, but don't want the yard work in that. It's quite appealing.
That's gonna be a concept. And I think that I get a lot of phone calls. Really in that mid thousands. Not, just one seat. I'm finding a lot of people that are retiring, that are trying to move by their grant. They're trying to get close. I'll finish. Yes, sir. The plan eventually. I can. Sorry. I'm loud sometimes. I figured All right. Thank you. Anyone else like to speak in favor? Not opposed? Close public hearing.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion to approve and a second. All in favor, raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes unanimous. Belong to 6G. Approval of a final plat for Jackson Run, Phase 2, center block of Roy Warren Parkway.
Yeah, thank you, Dwayne. Yeah, this is final plat, 57 lots on 22.6 acres, on the 6500 block of Roy Warren Parkway. It's pretty self-explanatory. The staff recommends final approval of the plat. Do you have any questions? No.
The only one I have is because I haven't seen it. What's the little, if you're familiar with it, the very entrance of Jackson's Run off Roy Warren, the northmost, they've got what looks like a house pad. Is that also part of the second addition at the phase 2 at the back? It just looks like they're building something there, but you can't tell what.
Nobody's talking. Oh.
It's an Altura. I'll point it out if you. See, and that was my question. None of this, it's over here.
Oh.
It's way by itself, but it's the plat, or at least a pad that looks like it's going up.
Say people was a part of an earlier phase of Jackson Run, depending on where you're talking about.
Okay.
That just didn't get built.
Open it up for a public hearing to anybody has anything to discuss on the final plat. No one has anything for or against. We'll close the public hearing. Do I hear a motion?
Motion.
Got a motion? Second. All in favor, say aye. Raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes unanimous. Item 7, updates. Want to have anything? Say anything, Bernice? Dora? Okay. Okay.
A brief update of the comprehensive plan.
You want to step up here,
Yeah.
please?
Yeah, I'll give a brief update of the comprehensive plan. Due to COVID, we had to pause some of the public engagement portion of it. So the consultant and I decided to just work together. And so I internally had been meeting with staff or department heads and kind of talking to library, talking to economic development, talking to parks to see and get some information from them. And then the consultant has also been working simultaneously doing some planning. But due to COVID, we had to pause some of our future public meetings. And so we just presented to council, just letting them know that we're starting back with the comprehensive plan meetings. We have one planned for next week. And we're hoping to have our next public meeting this summer. Depending on COVID and the outcome, we may have an opportunity for people to come in person or also engage virtually. And this would entail having a website that people can click on and they can see all of the public engagement posters, and they'll be able to give us feedback and information about what they would like to see happening in Greenville. We'll be able to provide scenarios and questions, and they can give us feedback that way. This way, we can hopefully maximize the amount of engagement we receive. We've also done the survey. Currently, we have approximately 900 people who have responded. We're looking at possibly making some adjustments to the survey because some people have addressed concerns about not being able to locate themselves outside of Greenville. But generally, we've been getting a lot of feedback. As the numbers grow, the metrics change, and we are able to see what people are looking for, what they want to see downtown, what kind of shopping or commercial development they want to see, what are their concerns. And so if you haven't, I don't know if I've sent it to P&Z, I can, the link to the survey, you're actually able to actually answer the survey, but also see what other people have been responding. Another element of the survey is that people are able to provide comments. I go through and I read every single comment and what the concerns are, and we're able to kind of get a cross-section of what people are wanting to see. And kind of and honestly, there are trends. We're able to kind of identify, and the important part of that is we want to have a comprehensive plan that is practical, but we also want to have a comprehensive plan that's reflective. And so we're gonna probably keep the survey up for another month. The next public meeting will probably be this summer. It should be next month, depending on how COVID goes. And I'll give everyone an update, and I'll actually send everyone a link to the survey so that you're able to see it and share it.
I have a question, LaToya.
Mhm.
I'm not sure what the process is for sending out emails, letters, or whatever to people on each one items that we're talking about. You're wanting to know what people think. But tonight is not the first time we've heard somebody say, we never got one, or we got it late, or whatever. Is there something that could be looked at to see if we can improve to get more community input on that?
Yeah, we can. One of the things, I went to a conference not too long ago, and I've noticed that cities vary in the radius that they have to provide feedback. So I can go back and we can kind of look at what we've been doing before and try to see where we've been missing residents and why they haven't been notified.
And the time frame that they get sent out.
Yes, because we keep a record of what we've sent out.
The
So,
more input we get from the community, I think, is important.
right.
Thank you.
Okay. Go to item number 8. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn. Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned at 6:39 PM.
The recipe for great food is simple. Make it fresh. Wings to go in Greenville, where every order is a custom order made with fresh ingredients. Wings to go, 7818 Wesley Street in Greenville. Simply great wings.
Love your car or truck? You'll love it more with a new sound system from Super Sound in Greenville. They've got all the hot brands like JL Audio, Alpine, Hyphonics, Pioneer, Rockford Fosgate, Kicker, Heiss, and more. And great technicians to do the install. Super Sound in Greenville, 5013 Wesley Street. They make sound move you. Super Sound and Security.